who have about 3:15 to make the pick. John Fox is their new head coach. He leads the Panthers as the lowest ranked offense. Last year, the Broncos had the worst defense in football. John Fox has turned around a 1-15 team in a couple of years in Carolina, gotten them to the Super Bowl on defense. Ed Werder is in Denver. Well, boy, it adds up, Ed, to a little defense, doesn't it?
Boomer, not only were they the worst defense in the NFL in every category last year, they had the fewest sacks in the NFL at 23 without Elvis Dumervil. John Elway told me that as a former quarterback, the players he could scout the best were pass rushers and cornerbacks. The player Denver's most excited about is almost certain to take here is Texas A&M outside linebacker Von Miller. Boomer, GM Brian Sanders told me they performed a computer analysis to comparing his athleticism at 248 pounds, running a 4.46 to the 64 starting corners and wide receivers in the NFL, and he was as good or better than the average.
All right, Ed, thank you very much. Well, I think if the pick is, and there's Von Miller crying in the green room, and again, so you know what that means. Von Miller, in John Fox's eyes, is someone, a linebacker that can play every down. You don't have to take him off for different situations. I'm sure that will influence this pick by Denver.
With the second pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Von Miller, linebacker, Texas A&M.
Well, as we discussed before, his name is along with many of the current big-name players and Carl Eller and some of the greats of the past, and one of the greats of the past on the suit. So my goodness, what an interesting day this is. They're ruling on a lawsuit, but Von Miller is talking about football at this moment, and he can do manly things, Coach.
Well, it's easy to sit up here and say he's a rare, explosive athlete, but just compare this guy to A.J. Green, the top receiver. This guy can run, and this guy will hit. He has rare power and explosion. He can play in any defensive front. He played in the 34 defense at A&M. You watch the Senior Bowl, he converts to a 4-3 backer and dominates those drills. He's got active hands, and he can use them at full speed. He can almost make himself invisible when he rushes a passer. The only thing I'd like to see a little bit more of from Von is more plays in the briar patch. He's been in space, and he's been a terrorizing space player. The Denver Broncos just got a lot better today, Mel.
Take the debate, John, within the Denver Bronco organization. Do you take Marcel Darius? You need a defensive tackle in the worst way, but you need that Sam linebacker. I think the way John Fox is going to utilize Von Miller will make him a guy that can help out an Elvis Dumervil who's coming off of an injury. Robert Ayers, first-round pick a few years ago, he's got to step it up. They're counting on him to be a much better player under this new regime than he was previously. I think you look at a DJ Williams, veteran linebacker now. All of a sudden, with Miller, you got a fear factor player on defense that you got to account for. I think that's the thing with Von Miller. Darius is a defensive tackle. A deep year for defensive linemen. They think they can help that position. They had 2 second-round picks. They pick at 36. They pick at 46. So there's going to be opportunities there to get a defensive tackle. Von Miller's a special player. I think if you look at who the consensus #1 player was in the NFL going into this draft, you have to say probably Von Miller was that guy.
Well, he's got some Derek Thomas-like qualities. We said that earlier. 6'2.5", 245 pounds. I've seen this guy ruin games. He got hurt early this year, I think the Stephen F. Austin game. Last year, nobody blocked this kid. He's for real as a pass rusher, and John Fox, don't underestimate him as a defensive coach. He'll use Von Miller all over the field in nickel and in their base. And I think you team him with Dumervil, you have heat coming off both corners in nickel. I'm excited about it.
You look at Von Miller, John, and you talk about the comparisons to the late, great Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas was a sack artist at Alabama, Hall of Fame player in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. John Fox and the Denver Broncos are hoping Von Miller can be that kind of player. You watch him 2 years ago, 17 sacks. He led the nation. Ankle injury early on this year. He drops a 10.5. The 10.5 was pretty good considering it was less than 100% a lot early in the year. It was a player that can be utilized in a lot of different ways. He's not a guy, John, I think you can say, okay, automatically, he's going to have to come after the quarterback. He is a figure around a 4.4, 240, John. You point out to me, his numbers across the board athletically are better than a lot of guys at the skill positions on offense.
I mean, he ran faster than A.J. Green, a great receiver. His 20-yard short shuttle was faster than your guy, Patrick Peterson, the #1 corner in this draft. But he can play on his feet. He can put his hand down and rush. A lot of versatility and firepower in Von Miller. I had him as the #1 player in this draft. I'm envious of the Broncos. And if they get that crowd noise in the game, this guy will be a special pass rusher. Double-digit sacks, I think, for Von Miller.
Well, so we've had the first 2 picks. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock. And with Miller going to Denver, maybe the big